What?
Hello, everyone. Today, let me introduce myself first. I'm Leonardo Negreiros, and today we are going to talk about Waku, the minimal React framework. So let me just take a sip of my water first. So, what is Waku? It is a framework that's based on React Server components. And what are React Server components? So, there's this new version of React that's React 19 that is incoming in a few weeks or months. We still don't know, but the beta version of it is already out there for the lib maintainers. And together with React 19, there's this new thing that are called React Server components. That instead of just doing the regular server-side rendering that we already did before, we are now basically render the whole components, like everything in the server, and just generating an HTML based on that component and send it to our frontend. And it's very cool, the concept of the server components, because you can do data fetching within it. There's a lot of cool stuff that comes with it, and Waku is based on top of that. And why it's called minimal React framework, because it just gives us the bare minimum to work with React. Like, it just gives us the server and the routing, basically. So we, on the other hand, for example, we have NextJs. Let me put it here, NextJs on the docs so you can see. We have NextJs here, and if you check the documentations for NextJs, that is also on top of React Server components with the app router. You can see that there's a lot of things going on. There's routing, data fetching, rendering, caching, optimizing, authentication. So it is just a lot going on, and we don't know yet. Not that we don't know, but it's kind of hard to tell what is from Next.js, what is from React 19, what is from React Server components, and they're kind of meshed together, mixed together, and it's kind of hard to tell what is what, which is which. And that's why I like Waku as an introduction to React Server components, because if you see the docs here, it's just a couple of items on a simple page, and that's it. That's all the docs. That's everything. And if you want to get started with React Server components, I think this is a great place to start with. Although the framework is still on this alpha version, so it's not even beta. There's a lot of things to change. It's already a place where you can try React Server components without have to deal with many things. It's just the routing and serving, as I said before. So yeah, so to introduce Waku, there's this small project that we're running here, and it's here. The code is very nice. Let me just erase this here. There's some spoilers there. It's the build, not the build right now. That's some spoilers ahead, sorry. But anyways, this is the most basic Waku project. By the way, Waku means framework in Japanese, so this is why the website has this Japanese aesthetic. It's basically from the name of it. And also, the creator of Waku is also the creator of Zustand and Jotai, so the person that's already involved with open source and JS libraries. So anyways, I digress. This is the most basic Waku project. If you go there and do like npm create Waku latest, this is the project that you will get. And it comes from with the folder CSS styling is Tailwind. And I actually enjoy using Tailwind for this because it was a very small project and I didn't want to write a lot of CSS. And it just gave us some Tailwind here, just some utility classes. Very cool, very nice. I know some people here are anti-Tailwind, but it is what it is, right? So anyways, here we start with the pages. It gives us the index page. And we go back here. This is the index page. It's like we have this pages router here. Everything that we put on the pages, it routes. Also, we have the index is the slash route. And if you go and do a slash about, oh, I forgot to start the server. I'm sorry. No one saw it. Let's pretend it didn't happen. And we are here. And then I have Waku, the minimal React framework, and this is the page that we're rendering, the about. And that's the basic of it. We have this data, await get data. If you see this async function, those async components, they are part of React server components. every time that we see an async component, it is indeed a React server component. And this function is basically kind of mocks like a request to an API. We have the style, headline, body. We can pretend that this is coming from a third-party API, and we just getting this data and putting it on our component. And the cool thing about it is that when we are kind of working with client-side JavaScript, we have to think about use state, use effect, and a lot of things going on just to get the data from one place and showing another. And React Server Components kind of eliminates that complexity. We just have an async function. We call this async function in our component, and that's it. We can enjoy the data. And so this is basically everything that Waku is offering us. And then we have also some client components here. We have this counter, and we have this user client directive that is very cool. Basically, what this user client does is that it marks this file as a client component. So because it has some hooks, use state, if I don't know, the context, use context to user context also would be marked as a use client. Every time we have those special hooks that when they are used inside of components, they must be our client components. They cannot be rendered in the server. Use state does not work on the server. So if you have a use state, it is a client component. And this use client marks, it's kind of it says to the code like this: hey, from here and now, everything that is used in this file will be bundled to the client code. So this is bundled to the JS that we sent to our page here. But these other parts, for example, we have this index. All of those parts are compiled to HTML. So this basically, it will send an HTML to the front end, and then this will be kind of a JS that will be injected to the component. So we kind of reduce the amount of JavaScript that we're sending to the front end. In some cases, we can even completely ignore JavaScript. We can disable JavaScript in our browser, and it still run. Like this about page. This does not have any JavaScript going on in the server component. Like we have this function, and theoretically this is all JavaScript going on here. But once it is rendered on our server and sent to our front end, then it's just HTML. And you can even see running the build here. You can do npm run build, and it will run. It will like compile everything and transform the JavaScript, the JSX into the HTML, the server components, and we can see the build here. Take here, we can see public. This public is the part that will be sent to our front end, and we have this about page, for example, this index HTML. This is the component that we are sent to our front end. This is the HTML that we sent there. This is what's being rendered. So it's a lot of less thing than having to send those libraries. For example, we don't even need to send React to this page. We go to about page. We don't even need to send the React JavaScript here because we already did the processing on our server. So we can send even less stuff to our users. But anyways, let me give you one example more advanced regarding those server components. So let's go to the route basics. For those route basics, I also created a dynamic route. We'll see what it is. So I create this page called Pokemon, and we can go here to Pokemon and access this page. Because I think that, I forgot to start the server again. My bad. Let's not forget about it. Let's not worry about it. And now it's running. So this is our page Pokemon, and we can select some Pokemon. Click here. It will go to the page Charmander, and it will show the Charmander Pokemon, some sprites, and the sound of it. I don't think you can hear, but I could, so this is an example of what's going on. Then we return to the selection. And this is all happening with React Server Components. Let's see how the code looks. So to start, I have this index page. That's where we select our Pokemon. Well, it's very, very simple. We have this await get Pokemons. This is a function that will just hit this Pokemon API, return a Pokemon list, and then we'll just render it. And for each Pokemon, we will use this link that's kind of an anchor tag, an HTML anchor tag, but with some Waku stuff going on there that help us with the routing and the navigation. So that's why we have this link and to the Pokemon name that we want. And this will send us to our Pokemon page. There's a dynamic page. You can see that we have this brackets, slug bracket test text. That this means that we can send a param here. In this case, it's a Pokemon name, and then it will fetch the name of the Pokemon, and it render the information of it. Let's see. I can even see a Pokemon that's not here. For example, I can put a Pikachu is not here, right? Let's see. Oops, let's put an Pikachu. Oh, not found. Oh, it's because it's Pokemon / Pikachu. Yeah. It's okay. This is not found. It's because I put a route that didn't exist. I put like 1-3 here. Not found because I did not create a not 1-3 page. Also, I did not create a Pikachu page. That's why I did not found there. Anyways. So yeah, what is going on? We are taking this slug Pikachu, and then we are passing to our get Pokemon function that is fetching that specific Pokemon, and then we are sending the data here. And that's basically it for the routing and for the navigation. There's also another thing about navigation, that there's the use router that has some methods such as router.push or router.back, but it is unstable yet because it's an alpha version, right? And since it's not on its final version, I decided not to talk a lot about it, just mention it because it might change the API in the future. So I want to talk more about the core stuff, the concept of it. And there's one very cool concept, that's this get config. If you see, for every page that we have two functions. The first one is this async function, that's our React server component. And also are exporting this get config function that has this render method. And what this get config here says to us is that telling if it is a static page or if it is a dynamic page. For example, go to our index, just close this. Okay, if we go to our index, it says render static. So let me just open the counter. Okay, our index says render static. So what it tells me, this static means that this component here, it will be created at build time. So when I do a npm run build, it will fetch the Pokemons and it will create the list. And then when I when I access this, it will be just the HTML with the data already preloaded. So this static thing is very nice when you have like data that will never change. For example, the number of Pokemons will not change for a lot of time, like maybe once every, I don't know, 3 to 5 years that new Pokemons will be released, and then every 3 to 5 years we would update this. So there's no reason why should I make the user fetch new Pokemons every time if we can just make it fetch once and then save it to always use the same HTML. Let me show you how it looks in the build. npm run build, and let's see how it looks. You can go to the dist and you see the public, and then now you have the Pokemon page, and this is the index HTML. We even have all the Pokemons from our list there. There's Bulbasaur, there's Ivysaur, our anchor tag, and that's it. That's what the static does. It creates the page beforehand, and it kind of it maintains the HTML there. And every time that we hit the page, it will just serve the HTML. We do not need to create any new more React components. So I would even do a npm run a start, so we can take this project that's already built. And if I go to /Pokemon, it's almost instant because we didn't wait for the data to be fetched. Because we did fetch this data before once at build time, and then we do not need to do this again. So that's the difference between the static and the dynamic. The static pages, they will be built, they will run at build time, and they will be just transformed into the HTML, and that's it. And the dynamic pages, they will be transformed at lifetime. So I don't know if lifetime is the right term here, but what I want to say is that every time that we hit the slash Pokemon slash slug, so Caterpie, it will be compiled, it will be running this page there, and it will be doing this fetch here, this await get Pokemon. This fetch will be happening every time that I click a Pokemon. I click Charizard, and then it will hit this endpoint. I click Bulbasaur, and this will be hitting the endpoint, Bulbasaur. Even if I go back and click again, it will be happening twice. But if I just do a Ctrl R here, this is not hitting any other endpoint. This is just serving the same HTML every time. And that's it. So let me see if there's anything more to say about it. Well, yes, there is. Sorry. We can, and this configs here, they are just related to the components that are page components. If you see our counter, our footer, and our header, those components, they do not need this config because they're just regular components that can be used everywhere. Those config files functions, they are only for pages, and that's it. Oh, why is this still here? This should not be. This should be Pokemon index, but I will do it later. It's a bad name. Okay, and but what if I also want to render this statically? Like those Pokemons are also not going to change. I mean, Charmeleon will always be Charmeleon. Will always be this Pokemon. Will always be this sound. The Beedrill will always be Beedrill. What should I do then? So there's another concept that we can do is that we can generate those. Let me start with other thing first. I can tell this is static. Yes, I can do it. And to tell that this page should be static, this page that has a slug, I should also add the static paths. Static paths. It's an array of strings. So I can say that there's Charmander and there's Charmeleon. I will put both of these here. Charmeleon, yeah, that's right. So what this is telling me? This is telling me that there will be only two possibilities of Pokemons here, Charmander and Charmeleon. And then at build time, the program will build two pages of Pokemon, one for Charmander, one for Charmeleon. And they will be static, and they will be served as an HTML just as this function. So let me go back here and npm run dev, and let me open the localhost with the dev running. And there's Pokemon. And then if you click it, Charmander is already there. Very nice. Just as before, we are not calling this. I mean, for the dev environment, it is actually calling the function here. But if I go back and select like Bulbasaur, it will be not found. Because why is Bulbasaur not found? Because I said here it's a static page, and we just render Charmander and Charmeleon, and that's it. They are done. And if we go back to our terminal here and do a npm run build, we can even see that now on our dist and public and Pokemon, we now have, besides the index, we also have Charmander and Charmeleon. We can even take this index and let me open the container folder. Okay, I will open you with the Firefox. And there's it, the HTML, rendering the Charmander and everything, the audio and etc. And this doesn't need any JavaScript. I could disable the JavaScript here and it still would render perfectly. It does not have any CSS because I actually did not add it. This is just the HTML. It doesn't add any CSS until it does some serving. but because I'm just running the HTML on the Firefox. But here I have some CSS. Let me get the CSS. Oh, this is disabled. Oh, wait a minute. Is it running? Oh, nothing's running. I'm always confused with what is running. What is not running? Just start. Now it will run. And Charizard does not exist, but Charmander does. And that's it. Charmander does. And they're instant because they're just in the HTML. It creates a very nice UI flow for the user. And besides it, then what if I want to actually show pre-render every possible Pokemon? Because as I said before, they will not change. Well, that is possible too. Let me go back here. I will change my branch to this one. Oh, just stash. Oops. Okay. And now what I have different is that my slug is different. We now have this get static paths. That's basically a function that will get the name of all Pokemons and then add to my static paths. And this is very cool because it allows us to basically render every possible Pokemon at build time, and then we save the HTML. And then if the user wants to see the Pokemon, it doesn't need to fetch from the API because we already did this once. We have no need to do it again because this is a very space. I mean, this data will not change every often. It will not change daily. It will not change every week. It will change once a couple years. So very easy to do it, to just save the result of it. And let's see how it looks. First, we do npm run build, and I even put this console.log on the get static paths so we can see it running in build time, static Pokemons. And now if we do our npm run start, and then we go back to server, and then we go to the /Pokemon page, and we click any Pokemon, it's already instant. We do not even need to wait for any fetch or anything because we already did this before, as I said. Then go back here to the dist, and then we see the public, and we see the Pokemon. Then we have a list of everything that we already pre-built in the build time. It's already there. And I think this is very cool. I think this idea of just pre-rendering everything with React Server components is very nice. It creates a very smooth user experience because we are not having any load time. We already hit the API once, and that's it. And that's why I like Waku, because it allows me to at least focus solely on the React features. I do not have to think about what's going on with the cache, what's going on with the navigation or anything. It's just there. Just one page of documentation, very easy stuff. And the maintainer also wants to keep this minimal framework, like what is from React Server components. The base is right there and should not be touched. React is React, and Waku is just building some things on top of it. If you come from the Ruby environment, that I think that comparing it with NextJs, it would be something like comparing Sinatra with Rails, and they would, yeah, Sinatra with Rails. It would be a very similar comparison. Like Sinatra offers the most basic routing and things to run your server, and Rails offers everything that you might need or not. And that's it. And also another cool thing about Waku that's a bit different from other frameworks is the way that we handle our env. Let me just do a git checkout in the example. And then this idea of having let me get like we have this base API and we have this Waku public example. This Waku public, it means that this data, this env is accessible by the client components, and if it does not have it, it's not accessible by the client components. And I like this idea. I think it comes from Vite, because Vite Waku is built on top of Vite, and also another comparison. NextJs is built on top of Webpack, and Waku is built on top of Vite. So they kind of have different bundling going on. But anyways, this here, it has this basic API, for example. If I want to use it, I can take myself to the Pokemon.ts, and I have this function getEnv that will get the environment from the on our server. And then you can just say, hey, getEnv, my basic API, now insert it here. And if I want to use this public, where's the env again? If I want to use this public environment on our client component, I can just say here, env example equals to import meta env Waku public example. If I log it, it will show. Just do an npm run dev. Yeah, I'm smart this time. Okay. And then we do, and then you see our console. We have this example here. But one fun fact about it is that this example login is happening here, but it's also logging on our server. Because although it is not a React server component, the client components is still run on the server. And they're just not being transformed into an HTML with the React server component payload, but they're still running on our server. They first create the first version of everything in the server with the client components and the server components. They still run on the server, and then they will run once again in the browser. And there's also another interesting thing about the client components is that, let me just another build, just make sure that I have everything updated. Here we do our build, and then we see how does it look in the components. Here it's how it looks on the components that are rendered on server. We have this server edge exports register client reference. This happens because we have a use client directive here, so it marks as a client reference, and it just a function that returns, hey, you are calling this from a server, but it's actually a client component. You cannot do this. And then we go to our public, and then we go to our components. Where is it? Components, I think it's on the SSR. Yes, this one. No, it's this one. The increments section border blue. Yes, this component. This is the component that is the counter that's being rendered in the browser. And this is the counter that's being rendered, that would be rendered in the server if I try to take this log and add a counter. Let me show you what I mean. Just add a counter, and then let me run the server. And let's say /Pokemon and /Pokemon. And now we have an error. Where is it? Where did I save it? Should supposed to give us. Wait, the counters. Oh, it's I made a mistake. It's not. This is okay. This is, you can call use client components from here. I just was doing this actually. This is what I want to do. This client. If I mark this component as a use client, that should be a React server component. Now it will break. Oh, let's see how it breaks. Run again and break again. Mistake, sorry. Yes. Now we have it breaking. Where is it? Yeah, attempt to call getConfig from the server, but getConfig is on the client. It's not possible to invoke a client function from the server. So yeah, that was the problem. You cannot call use client directives and components that are server components, because this async function here marked it's a server component. This will be rendered on the server and not on the client. But components with the use client can still be called inside of server components. My bad, I just configured here. Did a small confusion. But anyways, I think that's it for the introduction of Waku and some cool things that we can do with it. And yeah, thank you very much. See you later. Have a nice day.